All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We'll be diving right into our newspaper review and we'll be looking at Daily Trust first. Right in front, Nnamdi Kanu protest disrupts Abuja. That is on pages 4 and 5 if you want more details. At the top left, we have road crashes killed 3,433 persons in 9 months, says Federal Road Safety Corps. That's on page 48 of the Daily Trust. NLC to government resolve issues with ASU, others in 4 weeks. That's on page 45. Convention and Yanwu willingly signed all documents, says PDP. That's on page 15 of the Daily Trust. At the bottom, we have address Nigerians on alleged coup plot, ADC to federal government. That's on page 10 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Court orders marriage between TikTokers over indecent video. That's on page 51 of the Daily Trust. Nigeria import 953 billion naira worth of sugar in 1 year. That's on page 31 of the Daily Trust. Aviation Union declares strike. That's on page 32. If you want more information, make sure you grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
Let's take a look at the Guardian. And right in front, we have hashtag free Nnamdi Kanu. Chaos as police despair Abuja protesters. Southeast shuts down for Kanu. That's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And then we have EndSARS, hashtag EndSARS, police reforms linger as Nigerians demand justice 5 years after. And that's on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. NAD strike looms as a 30-day ultimatum to federal government enters final week. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And then also we have teenager arrested for allegedly removing sister's eyes for money ritual. That's on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Unions, NIMET workers vow aviation sector shut down today over poor wages. That's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And then also we have Nigeria needs new constitution, not amendment. Olani Pekun tells the National Assembly. That's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Resolve dispute with ASU or face nationwide strike. NLC warns federal government. That's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And then also we have Nigeria under sustained attack from foreign propaganda, says federal government. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And sustained momentum, Tinubu tells judges as EFCC nets 500 billion naira, convicts 7,000, and that's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. Do well to grab yourself a copy and stay informed.
All right, joining us to review some of the headlines on the pages of today's newspaper is Programs Director, Daily Trust Foundation, Dr. Theophilus Abba. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. All right, right in front of Daily Trust, it's been all over the news. Nnamdi Kanu, the protest disrupts Abuja. What is your take on it, and how do you think it went yesterday all through?
Actually, yesterday was a bit tension-filled because right from, very early in the morning, I was supposed to take my son to school and I was receiving calls that say the roads were blocked. Those who were coming from Nyanya and Nasarawa entering Abuja were saying the roads were blocked and there was tension everywhere. Soldiers or policemen were everywhere. And I was saying to I needed to go to school. So what would you do? Eventually, we had to say, look, stay at home. Don't go to school. Because we wouldn't know what will happen if we're trapped in the kind of anxiety and tension and fear. There was fear all over Abuja. And when we eventually came out, we heard that even at Utako here, very close to the office here, there were incidents. And we heard about arrests, multiple arrests, shootings into the air, journalists being beaten up. And unfortunately, I didn't know why policemen should brutalize journalists. Because, journalists were only there to cover what was happening. Then you attack journalists, beat them up, and all this. So it's quite unfortunate that will be happening. And the main issue is, to me, I was thinking that we have to blame the Nigerian judiciary for what is happening. Because number one, the Nnamdi Kanu case has been on since 2015. This is 2025. This is 10 years. This issue has not been, handled, to a logical conclusion. 10 years after, and we know that I mean, we have the legal instrument, we have the law. If you accuse him of terrorism, we have the Nigeria Terrorism Prevention Act 2015, you know, which spells out what terrorism is. You know, terrorism means, you know, use of force or try to use force against people, destroying public infrastructure, propagating ideology that is contrary to the interests of the country, whether it's a political ideology, whether it's a religious ideology, whether it's a social ideology. So far it affects the corporate existence of Nigeria, you are engaging in terrorist act. If you formed such act of terrorism, if you threaten people, you know, who don't subscribe to ideology, you know, you are already, you know, carrying out terrorist act. So what I'm saying is this: if the judiciary had done their work, the punishment for engaging in terrorism is 15 years in jail. Either 15 years in jail, either you are given life jail term, or either you are sentenced to death. But that is within the discretion of the judges, you know, to decide. Now, if you say this man had engaged in acts of terrorism, we expect the evidence, you know, to be presented to the Nigeria and to the court, and for the judge to decide what should be done. If the judges say, oh, this guy is free, then there's nothing you can do about it. You have to allow him to go. So I think the problem we're having with the Nnamdi Kanu case is the intervention by the government. If this guy has been engaged in acts of terrorism, if he has committed any crime against the Nigerian law, and you've arrested him, you know, you take him to court and then present the evidence and let the judges decide. In all this while, I noticed that the tension over Nnamdi's detention, I mean, the tension in Nigeria because of his detention, is even creating more problems, you know, than if he were jailed. You know, right now, almost every Monday, there is what we call sit-at-home in the Southeast. That has crippled a lot of economic activities in the Southeast. And in the Southeast, people live, you know, they're living in fear because of the activities of IPOB. And you see, what do you call it? Our military officers going there, carrying out operation and all this and all that. But if you have decided conclusively, you know, that this is the punishment for this guy, then, I mean, you met out the punishment. If you say this guy is innocent, because maybe his lawyers have enough evidence that counter that of the security agency, then you allow him to go. You see, this thing has lingered so long, and you know, to get to a point, Nigerians will be asking, what offense did this guy even commit? Because many people will not even remember the offenses he committed for which he was arrested. Many people don't even know that there's Biafra radio. You know, there's Radio Biafra, from where they were broadcasting all sorts of anti-government programs. Many people, maybe even you, don't even remember that. You know, many people don't even remember the kind of atrocity that took place, the kind of violence that took place in the Southeast when he was operating in the Southeast. Many people will no longer will get to a point that will forget all these things. By the time you even sentence, people say, oh, what did this man do, Seth? After all, look at Boko Haram that have been killing people. Look at bandits that have been killing people. Nothing has happened to them. Because you keep him for too long, and the people who are the freshness or whatever offense you think he has committed is already, I mean, being wiped out of our memory. So I'm feeling that the judiciary should do their job. They were told that they are independent. If they are independent, let them demonstrate their independence by handling this case. Look at the Simon Ekpa case. You know, he was accused of, I mean, engaging in terrorism. After about 6 months, they sentenced him. You know, it didn't take 15 years for Finland to say, this guy, you have committed a crime, you know, against our country or against our interests, against our values. It didn't take them even 5 years. In 6 months, they had concluded the case. So why would this one be lingering for over 10 years? And yet we have not seen the end of it. Instead of that, we are seeing tension, we are seeing people being killed, we are seeing economic activity being crippled because of the indecision of the Nigerian judiciary. So I'm thinking that the judiciary should put their acts together and do something definite that will enable us to put this case behind us. And that is my own thinking.
All right, quickly, time is against us. And the NLC is sending a strong warning to the federal government to resolve the issues that they have with ASU orders in 4 weeks. What is your take on this? Well,
I think, the NLC is saying the ball is in the court of the government, because I I don't support strikes. You know, I keep saying that there are other ways of handling disagreement with government. We can actually go to organize rallies. You say, okay, today we are going to do rally to say government must pay us our money. On campuses, there will be rallies, and then you go back to your classrooms. Or you can actually write articles in the paper. You can actually look for important Nigerians, you know, that government respects. I say, look, the government is owing us this money, government has not paid. But please talk to the president to pay. If it's Mr. Kanu that the president listens to, you go to him and say, Oga, this man is owing us so much money, it's creating discomfort. Please beg him to pay us our money. You know? So you can actually go to court to say, well, you are owing us so and so amount of money. Court, give the government the ultimatum to pay all this money. So there are other things that you can do, you know, apart from going on strike. So I don't support this kind of strike that is ongoing. But I'm thinking that, you see, the reason why ASU has gone on this strike was actually because the Minister of Education did not do what he ought to have done. You had a meeting with the minister in December 2024, and there were things that ought to have been done. This is October, for God's sake, and those things were not done. And 2 or 3 days to the strike, the minister will say, don't go on strike, don't go on strike. And you are telling people that you have met all their demands. In the actual sense, it's evident that you have not made their demands. So it's like some persons are not looking at this issue seriously. So I'm advocating that the government should, you know, do what it has agreed to do. If you have said you are going to pay a certain amount of money to ASU or to the university lecturers, put it in the annual budget and be sure that the money is released. Every year we plan for all the sectors. You know that you have made a commitment to pay so and so billions of naira to ASU. Put it in the budget. And then as soon as you get revenue, you say, okay, give these people their money so that we don't keep having issues. But in this case, it's like after meeting with government, you know, the government, after ASU has gone back to what they say, leave those guys, they're always going on strike, leave them, we have deceived them. And then this issue will come back, you know, and another strike will be. So it shouldn't be so. We want a government that shows a lot of responsibility, a government that shows seriousness when it signs agreement. You don't behave as if you deceived those that sign agreement, because these guys, they are educated, they are learned, they are responsible. These are guys who can become president. Any of them can be president of this country. Any of them can become minister. So the fact that you are a minister does not mean that you go and deceive, you know, people who are lecturers because you think that I'm in that position. Let's all do. No, you must pay them this money. You've agreed in 2000. In fact, the salary ought to have been reviewed. All this while. You can't tell me that a lecturer, a professor should be earning 500,000 naira. So they don't even enough to fight. That is senior ones. You know, it's unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. You know, you must review. Their salary. We are not even talking about a review of the salary. They are talking about the one that you had done. And to tell you, you know, how painful this thing is. If you are not a lecturer, you will not feel it. You know, I was, I don't know whether I still am. I was a facilitator and what do you call it? Facilitator as supervisor for Open University, and I supervised some master's degree project and dissertation and undergraduate projects. And for each of these projects, about 5 of them that supervised in 1 year. Do you know how much I was paid? For each of them, I was paid 5,000. Each of them, when I got an alert of 25,000, I was shocked. I said, where is this money coming from? I now saw it was from the Open University. I said, how can I get only 5,000 for all this work that they will come to me? I will discuss with them. This all I told them. They will write all the rubbish. I'll correct it. They will write. I'll correct it. I'll rearrange their work. Each of them, masters and undergraduate project. And at the end, it was 5,000. Now, if you go through the document that ASU is talking about, these are the things that are contained there. You supervise a project or a dissertation or a thesis, and you'll be shocked. They will not give up to even 50,000 per one.
All right.
So you see how painful it can be. And then this agreement the government has reached with university lecturer, and they are not even keeping to those agreements.
All right.
So that's why you see people cannot sympathize with government when ASU goes on strike.
All right. Dr. Theophilus, quickly before we go, there's this controversy that's been going all around on social media when it comes to these TikTokers and court-ordered marriage between TikTokers over indecent video. I don't know if you've seen it, and I'd like to hear your take on it. Well,
I think it's the Sharia court in Kanu, you know, that's ordering the marriage. I'm feeling that, you know, when you talk about indecent exposure, you know, there is a law against indecent exposure. And I'm feeling that I've not read the Sharia law, But in the Nigerian Penal Code, I know indecent exposure is something that is punished. Something that is punished. That is when a man and a woman behave in a manner that they shouldn't, behave in public. There's a punishment for it. I don't know whether the Sharia punishment is forced marriage. I don't know. I don't know whether that's the punishment for it. But I'm thinking that if there's any other way.
Well, I believe it's left to the discretion of the court.
The court has to decide. The court has to decide. They have to look at the law. But then I am thinking that, forcing people to get married, may actually be preparing them to force them to get divorced. Because I think that if you get married today, I don't want to marry the person again. Tomorrow you say, I divorce. Is that not? You not divorce and you go your way. I think if they are Muslim, their own is better. In Christianity, if you marry, you say for better, for worse. You don't encourage divorce. So, but if you force them to marry, it's not likely that you're actually telling them, oh, after 2 days, you can actually say, I know they do again. It's very funny, but indecent exposure is totally uncultural. It's against our cultures, against our values. And I don't think anybody should go and do a TikTok that will expose them in such a manner that is totally indecent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Theophilus Abba, for joining us this morning to review the front pages of our national dailies.
Thank you very much.
Hawa?
All right, that is all we have for Daybreak this morning. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. so you don't miss out on engaging and interesting conversations. As always, I'm Hawa Adamikiawa. Thank you for watching. And I am Mimuna Bagudu. Do what to follow us on all of our social media platforms and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more news. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye-bye.